Before the time of grand epic fantasy cinema, before we had all those muscle-bound men that became the barbarian hordes, before we had all those epic games, those big muscle men that were just almighty and powerful, there was one movie that came out in the early 1980s that starred an actor who was struggling at the time. But this movie gained his recognition and made him that made him a star player in Hollywood. This film is known as The Great Conan the Barbarian. Yes, Conan the Barbarian. Okay, I'm not doing that voice anymore. Oh, God. Sheesh. Really doesn't wonder on your voice, on your freaking lungs there. Yes, that's right, folks. Today we're going to look at Conan the Barbarian, the early 1980s classic before the Terminator came out. Schwarzenegger starred in this epic film, Conan the Barbarian. What I have here is actually the Blu-ray edition that has both Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer. And uh, hold on a second. Let me fix this real quick. Okay, that worked. Oh, okay. That being said, what can I say about Conan the Barbarian? It's considered a classic film of the 1980s as an epic fantasy film, which at the time, fantasy epics weren't really huge money back then, but this movie broke those boundaries. Not to mention, they had former Mr. Universe at the helm, at the starring helm. And this is actually around the time when Arnold fully retired from bodybuilding at this point. Yes, he was. Now Arnold Schwarzenegger throughout the entire '70s was struggling to be as an actor for many reasons, mostly due to the fact that he was a foreigner. He didn't actually have much of a college education. He was a bodybuilder, and due to the fact that he didn't speak good English and he was muscle bound beyond belief, and he had a really big ass name that was hard to pronounce. It was really hard for him to get some work. He had several films. He did star in several movies that were made. His first starring role was actually that of Hercules in New York, which I will not cover, which I'm not covering today, but it's a topic of a film I would like to cover someday, but I don't have a copy of that movie. It's hard to find. But also, Arnold has actually starred in a couple of decent things here and there. Starred in the crime TV show where he plays a bodybuilder who accidentally killed somebody, which was actually a surprisingly good episode. It showed his real acting range. But it was a movie. A movie came out in the late '70s called Stay Hungry, where he plays a bodybuilder, starring alongside Jeff Bridges and Sally Field. Yes, it was actually now it was actually a drama film, and he was actually the secondary actor. But that movie did show his acting chops in it, though, where he's just being himself, and he actually just confesses the problems of bodybuilding. Not only that, but guess who his trainer was? Just guess. You give up? Well, put it this way: in the '80s, this man became the man of our nightmares. Wore a fedora hat, finger knives on the gloves. Yeah, Robert England shared screen time with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jeff Bridges. This is insane. Okay, these three actors became huge in the 1980s, and yet we have a movie with all three of them together. This is a movie I gotta cover someday, but it's not really actually noteworthy on my show. It's actually more like a drama film, and it has a lot to do with bodybuilding. So maybe someday I'll get around to it, though. There's also the Pumping Iron film too, but again, that's a documentary style film that Schwarzenegger happens to star in. But no, when he actually got the role of Conan the Barbarian, that's where things changed. This is his first. This became his big starring role, and he became a major player in Hollywood right after that. And after the success of Conan, he got the film role of the Terminator, which originally he was supposed to play as Kyle Reese, but he rejected the role and actually became the Terminator instead. Now, here's another fun fact. Aside from the Terminator, Conan the Barbarian is actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite role. In fact, the first film is arguably Arnold's favorite movie he's ever starred in. Why? Fun fact. Arnold did the majority of all of his stunts. Yeah. All the stunts you see him do throughout the entire movie, that was all him. Yeah, not even joking. He did all of his own stunts. Why? Why is that? Well, fun fact. Mr. Universe here had a body frame that was hard to find a body double for. So, yeah, he hard to find a body double for Mr. Universe. Wrap your head around that one. But enough about all that. Let's start reviewing the movie, shall we? This epic film starts off with Mako actually doing the intro, which I just did, which I'm not going to do again because I don't think my lungs have the capacity to get through all that again. That's right. Legendary actor Mako is in this movie as well. He plays a character called the Wizard. And yes, I mean, he does actually have a name. We don't find out his name until the second film, which I didn't actually watch right now because I just saw the first movie. But throughout the entire film, he's mostly just called the Wizard. And he is basically Conan's friend, and he's also, well, the storyteller at this point. So the movie starts off with him actually telling us that this movie takes place far in the past, in a time long ago. In a galaxy far, far away. No, I'm just kidding. Can you actually imagine if Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually in Star Wars? No. God. Let's hope that doesn't never happen. And also due to the fact that Star Wars is actually having a lot of problems right now, especially that George Lucas is trying to fight for the rights to get back into the franchise and actually try to fix it up. Good luck with that, pal. So, sorry, my head's a little screwed up. So, anyway, the movie starts off with Conan's father actually making a sword, his sword, particularly. And thus he tells him that he needs to learn the riddle of steel for Crom, the god they worship. And Conan is just living his life as a child in the village, doing some mere things here and there, doing some fishing, and then a barbarian horde comes and just kills everybody. Yeah, that's how the whole thing starts off. Yeah, what a way to start this epic with a barbarian horde killing all the men and women. Yeah, the last people who left alive is Conan and his mother, and we thus see our main villain of the film, Thulsa Doom, played by James Earl Jones here. Yes, the great James Earl Jones. Oh, yes, he's in this movie too, as well as Max von Sydow. Okay, I just realized this is kind of crazy. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger, Max von Sydow, Mako, and James Earl Jones in a movie together. Wrap your head around that one, folks. That is just an epic mind fuck. For me, it is an epic mind fuck. But all joking aside, Thulsa Doom actually claims Conan's father's sword and thus decapitates Conan's mother right in front of him. And thus they take Conan away with the rest of the children as slaves, where they go to the north, while Thulsa Doom and his men go to the south. Why? How the fuck should I know? Anyway, they put Conan on a wheel, and for many, many years, all he does is just push this wheel, and we see this young child form into the mighty Mr. Universe himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Don't know how that's supposed to work, but okay, sure, whatever. So yeah, he just spends most of his time just pushing that wheel, which gives him nothing but strength and endurance. A lot of it, by the way. A slaver comes around and actually decides to put him in for a pit fighting tournament. Where, of course, Conan kind of gets his ass kicked, but to be fair, all that slave work he's been doing with that giant wheel actually paid off because, well, Conan is is freakishly strong. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do the fucking math, people. Okay, so yeah, he's so freakishly strong. He basically beats the crap out of his opponent relatively easily by just by actually putting a jujitsu lock on him and just smashing the guy's arm in the opposite direction. Just putting him in a chicken wing and smashing his arm like this and just popping them up and popping the bone out of the socket. And then he beats the shit and then he uppercuts him afterwards. So his first true taste of victory. And from then on, and from that point on, he became a gladiator. He became a pit gladiator and made countless victories. He won so many events. It was that his slaver had lost track of how many he has beaten and killed. Yes, he has become truly undisputed as a pit fighter. And so warlords from the west actually ask for his assistance, and so they take him for extra training over into the east, far into the east, where of course is the Far East, which is supposedly okay. A lot of people assume that he's in Asia at this point doing kung fu and shit. But keep this in mind. This is way before any of that. Okay, and this is supposedly and this is way before the Greek civilizations actually happened. This is a little bit before the pyramids, but it's saying it's around the time of Atlantis, give or take. But Atlantis is like thousands of years older than Greece and than the actual Greece lore, Rome, and of course Egypt's mythologies. So this is like far back into the past. Right. How far back? Well, put it this way, Hercules didn't even exist back then. Yeah. Neither did the Greek gods or anything. So that's how far back we've gotten. We're talking about maybe around 17,000 years ago, give or take. And so Conan is now taught the ways of war, strategies, war. A couple of other things I'll explain a little bit later. And as far as his war strategies, it's a mixture of, well, that's way to put it, is early forms of like just early variations of pancration, Bushido, and some earlier elements of Asian martial arts systems, where he learns everything from hand-to-hand combat to the sword. To swords, bows and arrows, pretty much you name it, he's well skilled. And what's he doing in his off time? He reads. He has nothing but scholarship. He has nothing but tons of reading materials to actually make himself smarter, to actually know tons of war strategies and profits, and of course how profits work too. So he is well educated, all right, which is one of the reasons why everybody likes his character so much. He's highly educated in not just combat but everything else. And what they give him for reward? They give him fresh stock women so he can bone the shit out of them. Yeah, literally. Not going to say anything else after that one. But he actually is also used in war, and of course, he's commended as the ultimate warrior. However, it wasn't meant to last. His slavers saw how strong Conan's been getting, and he sees how angry he's been getting too. So one night he decides to let him go. Says, "Go, you are now free." Conan now leaves and heads back to the west to the forgotten lands he had once called home. Once there, he falls. He's actually attacked by wolves, and he falls into a tomb of Crom. At least that's what it's called exactly. They're saying it's actually known as the Tomb of Crom, which is actually mostly dealing with Atlantean stuff here and there, where he finds the epic Atlantean sword that's known throughout both the movies. Now, the sword is right here that he's holding, but there's actually two swords that you have to think about. The title sword right here is actually the sword that his father made for him. And this is a sword that was stolen from Conan. Right? Ironically, in the comic books, this is what the sword actually looks like. But in the movie, we have the Atlantean sword instead, which is supposedly much more powerful. It's older, but more powerful because it's seen a lot more war. So Conan actually uh, takes the sword as his own, where he actually breaks his final shackles and kills off the wolves, off screen, of course, and makes them out of fur coats. He's a barbarian. Do the math. Conan thus journeys onwards, and comes across a woman where he actually tries to ask about the snakes. Basically, the snakes are actually part of a symbol that also Doom's men actually had, which is actually which is actually part of a sun and a moon, and two snakes that are actually one facing each other. So, and he thus explains to her a bit more to her where to find where he can find them. And so she said she'll tell him for a price. And what's that price? Insert the porn music. Yep. He he knocks her. Yeah, he bones her. That's about it. And so it's revealed she's actually a witch, and she tries to turn into a demon and tries to eat him, and he throws her ass into the fire pit. So, yeah, that's actually gonna. It's kind of funny when you think about it, though. I mean, seriously, one second he's boning a witch, then she tries to turn into a demon, trying to eat him, and what does he do? Throws her to the pit. It's like the sex was good, but thank you, goodbye. Oh, thanks for the. You know what? You know what? I'm happy I gave you the sex, but now, see ya. Anyway, she turns into a spear and runs away. The next morning, he meets Superdai, uh, a thief and an archer. They exchange words and they become friends. And Conan releases him, and they actually go on journeys together too. They mostly just banter a bit more about about anything about the snakes. Because Superdai is now helping Conan, and he can find the Thulsa Doom and the snakes. But the thing is, he doesn't know anything about Thulsa Doom. He just knows about the symbol of the snakes. That's about it. He doesn't know that the guy's name is called Thulsa Doom. Hmm. Oh well. Eventually, they do find the city, and of course, they go around. They talk to a few people here and there. The only thing that's actually of snake quality is actually the cult of Doom, Thulsa Doom. And before you say anything, no, Conan doesn't know that Thulsa Doom is the guy he's looking for. All right, so he's a little bit unaware of it at the time. And so he and Superdai go around bantering a bit, though, and they get a little drunk. And at some point, a camel bothers Conan. And what does he do? Mm. Yep, he punches a camel. One of the biggest comedy bits of the movie. And so they go to the tower where they are going to steal a jewel called the Eye of the Serpent. And thus they meet another thief and warrior named Valeria. This chick right here. Valeria. Not malaria, Valeria, you sick freak. Yeah, go look at her. And so they actually make it into the thing. Valeria actually goes dressed up as one of the nuns in this ritual of the snake, this so-called serpent ritual that's being held by Rexor, who is actually one of Thulsa right hand men, who is now was a warrior and a priest now. Superdai and Conan make their way down to the pit where there's a giant snake. What they see right there is the jewel. Conan basically gets the jewel, but he's sweating so much he actually wakes the snake up. But the snake is being very silent. He had they take the treasures. Conan holds on to the jewel as Superdai actually leaves. As Conan is about to leave, he sees something on the wall, a amulet of some kind. But the amulet is actually that of the same symbol he was looking for. And that's when it hits Conan. This this whole cult of doom is the very people that that killed his family. So he takes the amulet, and the snake actually tries to sneak up on Conan, but he uses a dagger and tries to stab it. Subadai shoots it in the neck a couple of times, and then he throws Conan his sword, and Conan rightfully decapitates the motherfucker. Yep, he kills that big ass snake. Look, there's a topless girl doing a sacrificial dance. She jumps into the pit, where they see there's a headless snake. What's going on? The snake is dead! What happened? Sir, look! Infidels! Yep, we got the whole infidel thing. Hey, at least this is the ancient past, all right? At least it's not like the modern day or anything where it's like a Muslim and radicalist, okay? So, yeah, it's a snake cult. Really says a lot there. A snake cult. Eventually, Valeria meets up with the guys, and they jump off the tower and they get away. And they get away. They go. They count their treasures, and they get loaded, and they get wasted. And then we see a romance between Valeria and Conan spark up, and where we see they love each other. So he gives her the eye of the serpent, and they make love. until after several days later, yeah, we get a king shows a king's man grabs them. King Osric, played by Max von Sydow. He says that Rexor actually threatened him, and so he fights the thieves. He berates them. He curses them out, and then he says, "I salute you." What? Wait a minute! You just cursed us out and you berated us, and now you're saluting us? What? So yeah, it turns out many of the kingdom and many other kingdoms have actually been affected by this cult for the last several years. And also due to the fact that many of the loved ones, many kingdoms lost their loved ones because of the cult. And so Osric actually hires Conan, Valeria, and Subadai to get his daughter back. Which, of course, they're a little bit hesitant about the whole thing because going against the cult is like a death sentence. However, Conan thinks about this whole thing, and he's like, "Hmm, you're right. I should live a happy life with Valeria right now, so we could be proud warriors, steal all the riches we need, and make our own kingdom." But then again, Thulsa Doom killed my family. I want revenge. Damn it! Yeah, considering the fact that Conan's as a Sumerian, he wants revenge badly. So after a night he had with Valeria, he actually leaves early in the morning and leaves the Eye of the Serpent with her, and he goes on his epic quest alone to face Doom and the cult. Eventually, he finds out where the cult is, and he finds an ancient battleground and a burial site where many great warriors and titans used to live. Where, of course, we meet the wizard, played by Mako. And let me tell you something, Mako is really quite a charmer in this movie. Very much so. So seeing him and Schwarzenegger work together, oh, it's quite a sight, I tell you. So yeah, Mako tells Conan everything he needs to know about the cult, and so he leaves his weapons and his clothing behind and gets some robes and some flowers, so he can sneak into the cult and actually try to get to the princess. And he brings the amulet with him, which will actually come back to bite him in the ass. Trust me. So he goes. So he goes to a cult meeting where, of course, he steals some of these robes and he tries to blend in. And it's actually kind of funny how he tries to blend in. But he's like a big guy. He's like a big dumb ape trying to blend in. It's like, hmm, hmm. He basically he hands one of the guards the amulet. And he wants to know where he can sit. He's like, you can sit up there. But one of the guards actually hands it over to Thulsa Doom's right hand men, Rexor and Thorgrim. So, and thus we see Thulsa Doom, we see the princess come out, charming, doing the snake charm thing, and Thulsa Doom comes out to address his subjects. And then, yeah, Conan gets attacked. Yeah, he gets attacked and beaten and nearly beaten to death. Mostly due to the fact that he brought that amulet with him. Yeah, nice one. Mostly due to the fact that they know that's actually from the exact site where Rexor was from. Yeah, that was real smart, idiot. Now, eventually, Doom talks to Conan, and he berates him and everything until Conan tells him, "You killed my father, you killed my mother, you murdered my people." And James Earl Jones, being such a delightful actor, he just shrugs it off like, "Huh, must have been when I was younger." Only he could deliver such a line so evil and like, oh, it's like, oh, really? Shit. It's like, wow, only this guy could pull that off. Yeah, a bit of a fun fact too, because Arnold was still having a little trouble with his lines in English. James Earl Jones, Anthem, and Max von Sydow actually gave him some private English lessons along the way, and actually helped him improve his dialect, which really helped a lot in the movie. Because Schwarzenegger does get a good amount of dialogue into the film, and if it wasn't for them, he wouldn't have got the part so well. And let me tell you, that helped a lot. So, anyway, eventually Doom realizes that he's the remaining Sumerian that he spared years ago, and he tells him that once a long time ago, when he was young, steel was more important to him than gold and diamonds, mere jewelry. And so he was really, and just like the Sumerians, he was also really interested in the riddle of steel, just like they were. And he eventually found the answer, which, of course, steel is strong only by the hand that wields it. What is the riddle of steel? It is strong only by the hand that wields it. So yeah, he makes an example by showing a girl jump off one of the cliffs and actually go right through or right through the floor, saying that that is strength and power. And afterwards, they just crucify. They actually put him on a tree in the middle of the desert and crucify him. Lovely. So after that, after a few days, a vulture tries to eat him, and he basically kills the vulture with his own mouth. Like goes like, beep, beep, beep. Yeah, yeah, you can't eat me. I eat you. So yeah, you're dying. So yeah, real nice. At least you got some food on your stomach. Uh, eventually, Subadai and Valeria find him, and of course he's heavily injured and he's almost on the brink of death. So they ask Mako to work his magic, and of course they wrap him up and get ready for one nasty night because he has to work his magic to keep him alive because the spirits will come by to take him away. And of course, they do. Valeria and Super Knight fight off the spirits while the wizard does his thing. It's like all that type of stuff. And the next morning, Conan is alive and well. So afterwards, he trains more with the sword and sharpens it like crazy because he wants revenge real badly. Eventually, they come up with a plan to get into the palace. Well, not the palace, but inside the temple where Thulsa Doom is. They know where there's a secret entrance, so they can sneak in, then grab the princess. And so they do. They actually go there. They paint themselves up in black and white paint and go right in. And we see that the cooking staff is actually cooking up humans. There's a Soylent Green joke here, but yeah, there is literally a Soylent Green joke here. But okay, the stew that they make for Thulsa Doom and his people for the cult is it's green and there's human and the meat they use is human meat. So it's a cannibalistic cult. That's lovely. So and they go into Thulsa Doom's little harem where they actually see that the guards and the women are having a Caligula style orgy. Yeah. Only most of them are still fully clothed. And what's Dulcidum doing? He is sitting on his throne up atop with the princess, and he basically meditates and turns himself into a snake. Really random, actually. I mean, what else would you expecting to happen? I mean, we have an orgy here. I mean, we have like an orgy, and they're being served a stew that's actually a green stew that has human body parts in it, though. And the main leader is up on his throne, and he just turns into a snake. Wrap your head around that one. Seriously, just wrap your head around that one. Eventually, Valeria actually sets fire to one of the curtains, and they start killing the guards that are in the middle of the orgy. Why? Why the fuck not? I mean, come on, they're the most dangerous guys. They're right there. They basically slice and dice them, and the way Valeria knocks Doom escapes in snake form, and Valeria knocks out the princess and ties her up. But Conan actually fights off Rexor and Thorgrim when they go, you! And we get an epic fight between the two of them inside the throne room, inside the harem throne room, and Thorgrim kind of screws up and actually hits one of the pillars so hard, it actually knocks Rexor unconscious, and the thing topples over, giving Conan and the others time to escape. And he's just looking at it like, hmm? Did I do that? Dude, you're playing with Arnold Schwarzenegger's lifting buddy Sven. What do you expect was going to happen? So Conan and the others basically escape. Falso Doom comes by. He says, it's time they learn to fear the night. And so he goes outside with Thorgrim and Rexor. They give him a bow. He gets a snake. He stiffens the snake and he uses it as a bow and shoots Valeria. And unfortunately, Valeria doesn't make it. She dies in Conan's arms. They go back to the burial site, and Conan puts her gives her a Viking-style funeral on a hill where no fire would ever burn. But eventually, the fire does burn because she gave her life to save the one she loved, and this was her price to pay. Subadai actually cries throughout the whole thing. Mako goes, "Why do you cry?" "I cry because Conan is Sumerian. He does not cry, so I cry for him." Huh. That's arguably the most manliest thing I've ever heard. Kind of makes sense when you think about it. The princess berates Conan the following day, saying that Thulsadum's going to come by and kill them all and take her back. And so Subadai and Conan and the wizard basically set up traps and get ready for the ultimate battle with Thulsadum's men. So, in fact, the wizard is the one who actually gives them more weapons and armor. And he goes, "Yeah, the spirits are pleased. Even the gods are pleased about your progress. Are they going to help us? No. Good. Tell them to stay out of the way." We're going. This is going to be a slaughter. But also Doom's men, not Conan and the others. They're going to be seriously like, yeah. Tulsa Doom's men are totally fucked at this point. So Thulsadum's men show up. Thulsadum's in the back, and he watches the fight unfold. Before the fight starts, we hear a prayer from Conan, asking Crom to grant him the strength he needs to take his revenge. And if you do not listen, then to hell with you. Kind of a backwards prayer there, buddy boy. So yeah, Masubadai and Conan basically cut down all of Thulsadum's men, like with everything from axes, swordplay, archery, bow staffs. God, they fuck everybody up. Even the wizard kills somebody too. I mean, Subadai actually gets injured by one of the men, where Mako comes in and saves him at the last minute. Dude, damn. Thorgrim actually Rexor actually charges at Conan with his sword until Conan takes his sword and actually aims at the horse he was riding on. So killing the horse, and Rexor goes flying like, "Ah!" Flop. Thorgrim comes right by. He sees Conan's helmet and he slams it. And he slams it with his big ass hammer. Only it was a spike trap where it goes, ah, fuck. Yeah, so Thorgrim gets killed by a spike trap that Conan actually made. And now we have a great battle between Rexor and Conan, where Rexor does get the upper hand at first until Valeria shows up again. Yeah, she's dying. She's donned in silver armor, and she actually blinds Rexor for like a minute. And she tells Conan, "You want to live forever?" Which is the very line she said when she first met him. Ironic. Anyway, it gives Conan the strength he needs, and he basically and he basically fights Rexor. Right, Rexor is actually fighting with Conan's father's sword, so he breaks the sword. So Conan, in a fit of rage, breaks the sword and actually cuts down Rexor by cutting his stomach, cutting him in the neck, and basically just cutting him down, killing him instantly. He reclaims his father's old sword, which is now broken thanks to him, and he thanks the gods that they won the battle. Thulsadum tries to escape, but before that, he tries to kill the princess by shooting at her with a snake arrow. Though, thankfully, Subadai actually jumps right in front of it, and he was holding a shield and blocks the attack. Yep. Now that is an epic battle. But the movie is not over yet. No. Later on that night, Thulsadum addresses all of his subjects, and the princess finally snaps out of it and decides to help Conan. Now, there's a bit of an interesting predicament here, you should probably know. Now, in the sequence, Princess actually goes right into the temple, and actually leads the way to Conan, but Conan is right behind her in the shadows, killing off Thulsadum's men, picking them off one by one. doing it assassin style. Here's a fun fact. There's actually two versions of this ending. There's this version, which is actually on the DVD and Blu-ray versions. Thank God for that. But in the original VHS versions, when it was first released on tape and also on certain television airings, they removed the princess for some reason. So she's not even visible in the ending at all. There's actually just pure Conan. So there's actually two endings to this movie. There's Conan and the princess, and then there's just Conan himself. The whole thing with the princess, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense because she had snapped out of it and she's trying to help Conan. So seriously, it just makes a little bit more sense why. Not to mention, Thulsa Doom tried to kill her, so this is her way of getting back at Thulsa Doom too. Makes sense to me. So eventually, Conan gets to Thulsa Doom, and he basically tries to talk to Conan down. And says that if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be as strong as he is now. And he calls Conan his own son now, which of course really gets plays with Conan's head. And so what does he do? He cuts his fucking head off. Yeah, he has his father's sword, which is basically like a short sword. He cuts him in the neck, and he just keeps cutting and cutting until he cuts the head off completely. Yeah, right in front of all the cult members, and he even chucks the head down the stairs. And so what happens after that? Whatever the spell was that Thulsa had on him is now broken. All the all of his followers drop their candles in the water and start walking away. Hours go by later, and Conan just sits upon the temple, pondering about what Thulsa has said. But he sees the princess is basically giving him the look, saying that he should probably go. And so he throws away his father's old sword because that's part of his past, and that's no longer part of him anymore. He has the Atlantean sword now. He grabs a chain with a fireball at the end of it though, and he does that. And once he gets to the bottom of the temple floor, he does the Olympic hammer throw and throws the fireball into right in the temple, and the whole thing catches on fire. Eventually, Conan carries the princess back, and he takes her back home, and we get an epilogue ending with Conan sitting on his throne, where we see him as King Conan. He is now on his throne, and Mako is actually doing the voiceover in the background, saying that he has gone on many more adventures after this, and eventually he became king by his own hand. This story would also be told. Sort of. Yeah. Eventually we didn't actually get that, but yeah. Anyways, that was Conan the Barbarian. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do I highly recommend this movie? You bet your ass I do. This is actually a great classic that Arnold Schwarzenegger started. And keep this in mind, like I said earlier in the video, before we had all those muscle cloud barbarian heroes, or those barbarian type warriors in video games or role playing games, think about this. Conan was the one who started it all. Yeah, we all because of Conan, we have this. Oh yeah. Now that's an epic right there. Now as for Conan the Destroyer, it's okay. It's it's pretty blah. Now there was no third film. Well, okay, technically there was a third film actually made, but it was turned into a different movie, and they got a different actor, and they changed the entire subject altogether. So it stopped. So it later did not become a Conan movie. Originally started off as a Conan movie, but it turned into something else. Oh, the Conqueror! Oh, the Conqueror! Sorry, sorry. I need a bit of a drink there. Anyway, folks, that was Conan the Barbarian. Now, don't worry about Conan the Destroyer. I'll get to that film eventually. As for next month, it's fucking February, which is the most hated month in my opinion. You know what? I don't know. I may actually just do a mob film or something, or just maybe do a film from my childhood. Either way, I don't know yet. I know Rex and Joe are going to be doing some more videos. But either way, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed my review on Conan the Barbarian. If you're Frank, out. Now please take care.